Good evening. Welcome to the Green Local School District Board of Education meeting for November. Mrs. Snowberger, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Herdlick?
Here.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mrs. Finelli?
Here.
Thank you. If you would all just please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Start out with the honors and recognition. Mr. Miller.
All right, at this time, can I please have Mr. Shank?
Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing Monroe Collix. She is a kindergartner at our building in Greenwood, and she is the student of the month for the month of November. She is accompanied tonight with Mom and Samantha, Dad, and Matt, and then also Brian. And then special guest, Mimi. I see Mimi's in attendance as well. She is a secretary here at the CAB, and some other relatives as well. And then also Mrs. Wilkie, her kindergarten teacher. Favorite things about that Monroe likes to do: she loves playing outside, she loves to dance, and she loves to laugh, which is very important. And you can see, I'm sure she has a smile on her face right now. And favorite color is blue. Favorite food are chicken nuggets. And her favorite game in sports, gymnastics. Favorite thing about school is recess. I'm sure a lot of students in your classroom would agree with that one. Yes. Do they love recess?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. She was shaking her head. She is special. She says that she is special because Mom makes her feel special, which is very important. She is special. And we all think she's very special here at Greenwood as well. And when she grows up, she wants to be?
Doctor.
Doctor. And again, I'm sure she could be anything that she wants to be. Again, she's a great student. We are very fortunate to have her at Greenwood. So if you could please put your hands together for Monroe.
Congratulations. And next up, we have Mrs. Maraschino for GPS.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Ella Summers. She's one of our third grade students at the primary, and she is joined with Mom Karen, Dad Jake, and her sixth grade sister Nina, and Grandpa's here as well, right? And we are proud of her to celebrate her. A little bit about Ella. Her goals and dreams are to get good grades, which she is doing currently, to go to college, and get a good job, and to make lots of money. She's not sure what that career will be, she told me today, but we decided she had lots of time to figure that out. Her favorite subjects include science and writing and math. In writing, she's currently working on an informational piece on how to make tortillas, which is Grandma's recipe. And in math, her favorite thing to do is fractions, which is fantastic because you'll have a lot of those in your future. Her favorite thing about the primary school is not recess, it's field trips. And she has been excited to join in or go along to the Magical Theater in first grade and McKinley Museum in second grade. And she's curious to see what third grade brings. Her favorite activities include softball, which she's a great second base girl, not base man, or third base. And she likes playing with her animals, which, Ella, I meant to ask you earlier. You said animals, plural. What animals do you have?
A hamster, cats, and chickens.
And chickens. So lots to play with at home. And some interesting facts about Ella. Two very interesting facts to share.
I learned to walk before I could crawl, and I could swim in the deep end before I was 3.
Could swim in the deep end before she was 3. And the best advice she's ever received is from Dad, and it's always travel light, because you don't want to carry a bunch of stuff around. And both of Ella's teachers are here today, Mrs. Davis and Mrs. Kurtz, and Mrs. Kurtz writes, Mrs. Davis and I have the pleasure of having Ella Summers in our third grade class this year. She's such a hardworking student who shows effort in all that she does. Ella's always following the BARC motto of positive behavior, attitude, responsibility, and kindness. Her caring personality allows her to work well with all classmates. Ella comes to school ready to learn each day. Mrs. Davis and I are proud to have her in our class. Keep up the great work, Miss Ella. So please put your hands together to congratulate Ella Summers.
All right, well done. And next up, Mr. Booth at Green Intermediate School.
Good evening, everyone. What a pleasure it is for me to stand with Yan Wu An, our sixth grade student at GIS. I just have to start by reading to you something that her teacher wrote about Yan Wu. When thinking of a student for this honor, a special girl popped into my mind, Yan Wu, who moved here late in June from Korea. Having no family or friends and speaking little English, she showed up one day with a smile on her face, ready to tackle a whole new world. I can't even imagine being 10 and entering a foreign country. She has shown that her language barrier is not a crutch and that she could easily use it as an excuse to not learn. Yan Wu underlines words that she is not sure of and looks them up on her own. Most students in this situation wouldn't take this extra step in their education, but her family is also trying to become bulldogs by asking how they can participate in the Orange and Black Day and support our schools. Again, please consider her for the honor as she has wowed all of the teachers at GIS. So let me tell you a little bit about this special girl. Yan Wu An is here tonight with her parents, Ho Jae An and Sarah Park An. We welcome you tonight. She is on the teaching team of Shockley, Foster, Manfort, and Anderson. Math is her favorite subject. She loves to work with other students in the class to solve problems, but has also loved PE. In fact, she loved PE back in Korea, she said. She learned how to play badminton and baseball. Reading English, she says, is very hard for her, but she takes the time to underline the words, and she also loves to go home and look up those words with her mother and learn the English language. Her hobbies include drawing, baseball, watching it on TV, or actually going to the stadium, which she had the opportunity to go see the Indians play this summer up at the Cleveland Stadium. And she also told me that her mom actually caught a foul ball, so she's very, very happy about that. She was on the weekends, and she loves to also take the time. She has her besties, she told me, back in Korea, and loves to call them and tell them all about America. So I asked her what her future plans include, and she would love to be, do you remember? Can you say it?
Sports announcer.
Sports announcer, she said. She would love to be a sports announcer, and also another one of her goals is just to have a happy life. Her heroes are her mom and dad because they are very, very special to her, and they are very, very special people, she says. One last thing that Mr. Manafort, one of the teachers, wrote about her is Yan Wu is very kind, hardworking student that does not let barriers deter her from learning and thriving. She treats these things as a motivating challenge and will lead her to her next goal. She is a pleasure to work with. Yan Wu has great attitude and a strong work ethic. And Yan Wu, I know that you are a strong child. I know that you will achieve many great things in your life, so please help me in congratulating Yan Wu An, our student of the month.
And next up, Mrs. Seals, Green Middle School.
All right, I'm joined here with Tyler Halligan, our GMS Student of the Month. Tyler is an active student and athlete at GMS. He actually just finished a basketball game or scrimmage. Basketball game or scrimmage? Did you guys do well? Yeah. All right. Tyler plays basketball, like I mentioned, at GMS and would like to continue playing at the high school in the future. Tyler also enjoys playing baseball and video games when he's away from school. He also enjoys spending time with his family, especially their card games. After high school, Tyler would like to attend either Creighton University or the University of Idaho. His teachers say that he is a great kid. Character and integrity describe Tyler. He is always friendly, kind, and hardworking. He takes pride in his work and who he is as a person. He is always supportive of his peers during classwork. We are very proud to have Tyler as our Student of the Month at GMS. Congratulations.
Great job. Congratulations. And finally, Mrs. Brown, Green High School.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce the Seniors of the Month from Green High School. I have with me tonight Marcus Whitlinger, who is the son of Deneen and Jeff and the brother of Matthew, also a student at Green High School. He's been involved in the high school soccer program for 4 years, Canton United Soccer Club for 5 years, and was a soccer coach for Green Soccer Association. His other activities include Key Club, Science Club, Student Council, and Chess Club. Marcus enjoys fishing, skiing, playing guitar, spending time with friends and family, and he plans to attend the University of Cincinnati or Cleveland State University for mechanical engineering. So please help me in congratulating Marcus tonight. Our second senior month is Megan Hellenthal, and Megan is the daughter of Bill and Robin Hellenthal. She has a brother, Noah. Megan is recovering from musical theater in the performances this weekend. She's a member of, obviously, musical theater. She played Babette, if anybody went to the show this weekend. And I'm sure she is recovering from the musical theater crud that goes through the students as they prepare to perform for us. She's also a member of National Honor Society and Science Club and is a varsity cheerleader. In addition to musical theater, she's a member of the select choir and ensemble. And outside of school, she volunteers with Reading Buddies and at the Chapel of Green. And she plans to attend college next year majoring in dietetics and nutrition. So Megan, if you're watching, congratulations, and we hope you feel better. Thank you.
As always, congratulations to all of our Students of the Month and parents, family, and friends. Thank you for all the support you provide them. Obviously, it says a lot about everybody behind them, the amazing things these kids are doing and will go on to do. Next up, we have Spotlight on Staff. So can I please have the following staff members, Stacy Custer, Gary Arto, and Dave Meadows, please come forward. And while they're approaching here, Green Schools Foundation supports this program along with the schools, and we do surveys each and every month, and anybody can write in and fill out a survey and do nominations. So these three outstanding staff here you have in front of you receive those nominations. So I'm going to go through a couple of these that really stood out and say a lot. So I'm going to start on the right. My right, your left, Stacy Custer. Stacy Custer is a partner here at Green Schools through Child Guidance with our district. The staff member that wrote out that we selected says Stacy goes above and beyond for each of her students and staff members. She can calm so many different fears and make sure that every person she comes in contact with has a safe and enjoyable day at Green Middle School. She's made many different accommodations for our students to help them feel successful, and she's always checking in with teachers and students to see if there's anything that's needed. She is a great resource not only to the middle school and the students and staff there, but overall district with her knowledge, and the effort that she puts into is truly invaluable. And in my time at Green Middle School, I worked with Stacy, and I echo these sentiments, and she's just first class, one of the many bright stars that we have in Green Local Schools. So Stacy, congratulations. And next we have Gary Arto. He's been with the district less than a year, but obviously has made quite the impression in that short time. He's one of our outstanding groundskeepers and has made an immediate impact on our quality of our fields and district facilities throughout. The enthusiasm and energy which Gary performs the physically demanding responsibilities of a groundskeeper have impressed many in the district, and that goes from supervisors to fans, community members, our athletic director, and many of the coaches. He receives excellent reviews, and while I understand that many people contribute to the quality of the grounds, people have seen a vast improvement, and I can personally tell you that I've noticed that since Gary's arrival. So please join me in thanking Gary for his hard work and dedication. And finally, we have Dave Meadows, who has taught math and coached over the last 15 years at Green High School. He is an absolute fan favorite of many students and alumni. Doc Meadows, as he's become known to his students, cares deeply for them. His students know that he's always willing to help, and many alumni credit their math success to being a graduate of his program. We're very grateful to have such an amazing teacher as part of the team here in Green Local Schools and at the high school. In addition, we received another nomination that came from the coaching realm, and that said, Mr. Meadows is an instructional leader in the classroom and on the field. He has a unique skill set in which he gets the most out of our athletes and at the same time shows remarkable compassion. Coach Meadows is a true professional and develops our young athletes in a way that we can all be proud of. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. As everybody's, if you want to stay for the remainder of the meeting, you're more than welcome. Those who would rather not stay, you can gather your stuff up, and we'll give you a few moments to make your way out to the back.
Run.
In other words, run for your life. It's nice because
Yeah, I get it.
just got up and left.
Right, we're done. Thanks. We showed up.
Except for the poor government students that have to stick around.
You got it, so.
Force him to stay.
It's so cold.
Force him to stay. Right.
Sure.
Sure, they're wishing they could.
As we move along then with the more formal part of the agenda, we will move on to item number 4, the approval of the agenda. I don't believe we have any items, addendums to the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion to approve it? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoyanov?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We have no need for executive session at this time. If there's any of the visitors that would like to speak on one of the agenda items that we have, please feel free to make your way to the microphone or acknowledge or whatever. With seeing none, we'll move on from there. Item 7, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of October 23rd, 2017?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Spinelli.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoyanov?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 8, the financial report. The superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the financial report and payment of bills as presented by the treasurer. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoyanov.
Second.
And thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Stoyanov?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item B, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the following changes to permanent appropriations. A new grant from UTC for the Green Middle School STEM classroom in the amount of $1,000. New grant from the Ohio Department of Education Connectivity grant for $4,500, and a couple of Title IIA grant reduction and a reduction of Title I grant items for funding. Do I have a motion to approve those appropriations?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. Mrs. Snowberger, would you just want to?
Sure. The first, letter A, Mrs. Warner from the Green Middle School, she applied for this grant for her 7th and 8th grade STEM classroom, so this is a new grant for her. Item B is, it's a pretty typical annual grant, but it's one of the few from ODE that are not guaranteed. There are years when they have a surplus down there, and they'll actually give us $9,000, and that goes towards offset things like the internet and telephone systems and things like that. So if we get another section of that, it would be in the spring for another $4,500. But there have been years where there's been zero. C and D, they pretty much happen every year as well. We could have a couple more here in the next couple of weeks. This is based on the enrollment for your district, but also the enrollment of past community school enrollments from last year. And so when they do their first count in October, and if the community schools, actually if their enrollment goes up, they due some of this money back to them. I've had it be as little as 2 cents, and there'll be some years where funds aren't changed at all. Another way that these federal grants change is if districts, other public school districts, don't spend all of their money, and by September 30th they'll have to give it back to ODE, and then ODE will distribute that to all the other remaining school districts in Ohio. So that's a way that the numbers could go up. So that's a quick explanation of those.
Okay, thank you.
Let me go. Yeah. Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes,
Mrs. Vanelli?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. Item 9, the new business, the consent calendar. Note, items under the consent calendar are considered routine and be enacted under one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes, unless a board member requests an item be clarified or even removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Mr. Miller, any comments?
Yeah, under 5B, there's the second reading and adoption, 2464, gifted education and identification, and then at the bottom of 5C, the approval of the district gifted identification and services plan. I've asked Mr. Lowmiller to just give a brief update on those two components that we see here tonight.
Good evening. Under Ohio Administrative Code and also the operating standards for gifted education, there were some slight changes to the code and the standards, which required us to make very slight changes, really just in verbiage, to update both our policy and our plan. Very, very minimal changes. The plan basically outlines what services we will provide to our students who are identified as gifted, what instruments we will utilize to identify those gifted students, in what grades. Both of these are compliance items, and really there's no change other than with the operating standards calling for the plan. We used to do something which was called a self-report at the end of the year, and now they're having us present the plan, submit it to ODE prior to, rather than it being a reflection of the year. So it's really just a change in timing with the Ohio Department of Education. No real changes as to things that we've never done before or submitted before. They're just calling it something different and changing the timeline for us.
Thank you.
Sure.
And then with the first readings, most of the first readings on here are compliance related. So when laws are passed, then we utilize Neola, and they provide us with what legally districts have to consider for our policy changes. So obviously this is a first reading, and I just wanted to touch on the one that was the second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Any other questions? Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes,
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. Item B, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the 3-year agreement at current pricing from Kimball Recycling and Disposal Incorporated for waste and recycling services. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Herdlick. Any changes to that other than recycling?
No, just the thing I'll comment with Kimball, one of the things that will be noticeable is the increase in recycling, particularly at our stadium, and some other spots. So looking forward to being good partners with Kimball, and looking forward to that.
Excellent, thank you. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item C, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education accept the contract with Cleveland Clinic Akron General beginning August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2027 for athletic training services as presented. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Herdlick. Second.
Second.
Mrs. Finelli, thank you. Mr. Miller?
And with this, we entered into a contract a few years ago. The Board of Education approved with Akron General, and then obviously Cleveland Clinic purchased that organization. So with that, we needed to go through the process again, and we are looking forward to our partnership with Cleveland Clinic, Akron General, and continuing the great things that I think we see as a benefit to our student athletes, and certainly the health, safety, and wellness that we've been accustomed to. With this will cover the district for the next 10 years. And I can tell you, I guess I'll just take a minute to say one of the great, obviously one of the most important things are the people behind these contracts, and I will take a minute just to talk about one of those individuals, Aretta, who so many of our student athletes know just does a phenomenal job, and we're looking forward to continuing our partnership with obviously Cleveland Clinic Akron General, but certainly Aretta, our team doctor, and others is a huge plus for the district.
And most of the players are staying the same, is that right? It's just
Correct.
more of an administrative change?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item D, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the school academic calendar for the 2018-2019 school year. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff.
Second.
And thank you, Mr. Cohen. Anything on there?
All right, on this, so a few years ago, this Board of Education wanted to make sure that parents, family, and staff and students could plan accordingly, so they emphasized getting this past the year prior before December. So in the spirit of that, working with our teachers union, presented tonight is the calendar, and I'm going to hit the highlights. So school, it's hard to believe 2018-19. School will start for our students on August 22nd, and then you have, I know one of the things that was commented on a lot last year, we had a Wednesday, Monday over Thanksgiving recess, so you'll see that that's back on this 2018-19 calendar, and then our spring break is March 25th through the 29th. And for all you students here in attendance tonight, I know the day you're looking forward to is when the students' last day is, and that is May 31st. So with that, the calendar for 2018-19, we will have it on the district website starting tomorrow, and the days stay the same for students and staff, and again, it's whenever I look at these things, you can tell you're getting old when I remember thinking, would I make it to 2018-19, and here I am. So
I think that was just a few weeks ago.
it was a few weeks ago, yes.
Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Anybody on the list there?
No.
Mr. Herdlick? All right. For board commendations this evening, Mr. Cohen, how about you start us off?
Really? Okay.
Now, just kind of so you know, Mr. Cohen was going to dress up as Lumiere if you went to the play, but he said his arms were tired holding up the...
That's right.
So we'll kind of go with that.
Congratulations to the 7th and 8th grade GMS Brave Group for raising over $300 for wounded warriors. The boys selected the organization on their own, raised the funds in conjunction with Veterans Day by selling flags with veterans' names and branch of service. So congratulations to them. There were 9 athletes who signed their letter of intent last week to continue their athletic competition in college. So congratulations to, and I apologize if I screw up any names, but to Lex Barrickman, Lake Erie College, girls lacrosse, Chloe Borland, IUP, girls lacrosse, Elizabeth Denny, Lake Erie College, girls lacrosse. We're seeing a theme here with lacrosse. Kendall Duffy, Indiana Tech, girls lacrosse. Nick Albrechta, boys lacrosse, Walsh University. Tyler McKeever, boys lacrosse, Walsh University. Cami Helm, softball, Baldwin Wallace. Miles DeMusi, Cleveland State, boys golf. And Tyler Durer, Oakland University, boys swimming. And Tyler was also recognized as a USA Swimming Scholastic All-American. So that's a pretty impressive list there. Great to see how far the athletic programs have come in producing these athletes to go on and play in college. Also wanted to thank the City of Greene for sponsoring the trip by historian John McManus from Missouri Tech University, who is an expert in World War II history and military history. He was here for some Veterans Day ceremonies as well as an Akron Press Club event, but he also was able to visit Mark Tomeko's AP U.S. history class at the high school, and thanks to Mr. Tomeko for letting him come in. And I witnessed the session. It was a great Q&A with the students. The thing that really shocked me was how much the students were really into the session. I'm used to teaching apathetic college kids who sometimes you have to kind of grind it out of them to get them to participate, but these AP U.S. History students were totally into it, and I think just about every kid in the class asked a question. So thanks again to Mark Tomeko and Cindy Brown and Greene High School for letting Dr. McManus come in. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mrs. Spinelli?
Well, I took my 4 grandchildren to see Beauty and the Beast, and it was absolutely wonderful. I don't know if the cast thought it was wonderful that we were sitting in the front row, but no, they were just. My youngest granddaughter, who's 4, if you could have seen her when Belle walked out and started singing, her mouth opened up, and she would put both hands up, and her eyes were like huge. I mean, she was just. She loved it. She absolutely loved it. Talked about it and talked about it. So I wanted to congratulate the cast. They did a wonderful job. Congratulations also to Gavin Wingfield and Kara Parsons for earning a 1st and 2nd place in the Student Distracted Driving Awareness Billboard Design Challenge. It was sponsored by Summit County Sheriff's Department, Safe Communities, and State Farm. Along with the $500 for 1st place and $200 for 2nd place, Gavin and Kara's designs will be displayed on billboards, which I'm excited to see, in our area, starting December 4th. And thanks to Allison Masutka, Greene High School's art teacher, for promoting this great contest with our kids. Also, thank you to the 6th grade ELA teacher, Sarah Sears, for bringing our Blessings in a Backpack program into her classroom. Her students organized a special drive of their own, researched statistics on hunger in Greene, the county, and the state, and then worked on a contest to create commercials and flyers for promotions at Greene Intermediate School. The winning team of Audrey Reamer, Andy Pageant, and Emily Smith were featured in an article in Akron's Akron Beacon Journal, Saturday's Akron Beacon Journal. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Spinelli. Mrs. Stoynoff?
I'd like to start by thanking the voters of the City of Greene for re-electing me to another term on Greene School Board. I'm looking forward to serving, of course, with my colleagues, Mrs. Spinelli and Mr. Campbell, who were also re-elected, but of course with Mr. Cohen and Mr. Herdlick too. I couldn't be prouder of the direction that Greene schools are going, and I feel blessed to be able to continue to be a part of that. I wanted to also give a thank you to our athletic director, Eric Musey, in the way that he organized and handled the Division II playoff game that we hosted here on Friday night, Barberton versus Hoban, with Barberton coming out as the winners in that game. I saw him on Thursday.
Hoban.
Hoban
won.
Hoban won? I thought Barberton won.
We'll just thank.
Well, that's
Let's
right.
just thank Mr. Musey.
As soon as I get into the weeds of athletics, you know it goes south, right? That's right, because everybody thought Barberton was going to win. That's right. Sorry, Barberton. Hoban won the game, but I saw him on Thursday, and there was a lot of moving parts and things that were still coming together with that, and it was certainly an undertaking because there were a lot of things going on in the district that same night. We had Beauty of the Beast at the high school, and just having the parking and all of those little things that can sometimes lead to disaster, he took care of, with grace and poise, and it was a great night. Wanted to also thank the volunteers and chaperones that went along with the 8th grade DC trip, because we all know that the buses left without me, and I don't know how this happened, but it did. Somehow I was left behind, but it looked like from the pictures that I saw that everybody had a great time, and it looked like there was beautiful weather, and so thank you again to everyone that made that happen, because it is a great experience, certainly for our students. I wanted to give a shout out and a thank you to the members of the Green Middle School PTSA, particularly Carrie Stevens, Christy Sir Lewis, Christy Ladrowski, who organized the quarter auction last Saturday at the middle school, which I had a chance to attend. It was a lot of fun. I won Browns tickets that Jason and Noah were able to enjoy yesterday. And I just heard from Carrie, and she said they raised almost $4,600 on the event for Green Middle School PTA. And it's a lot of work and a lot of organization. So thank you to them for their hard work. Kudos to Mr. Shank and Mrs. Maraschino and their, somebody was slimed already. Mr. Shank survived. Mrs. Maraschino, I hear your opportunity is coming up here soon on Wednesday. They always are great sports when it comes to the Bulldog Dash, and they always make some kind of deal, I guess, with the kids. If they raise a certain amount of money, they will. Let's see, Mr. Shank kissed a pig one year, so there's always something. Spent the night outside. Yeah, all of those kind of shaved your head. That's right. So there's been all kinds of great things over the years, but they did reach their fundraising goal of $50,000 for the Bulldog Dash. So thank you and congratulations to everyone that was involved with that. I got to see Beauty and the Beast on Friday night. It was an amazing performance. Everyone was wonderful. Mr. Cohen and Mr. Campbell's children were a part of that production, and they did an excellent job along with all of the rest of the cast. So have a happy Thanksgiving, and that's all that I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Stonoff. Mr. Hurd?
Thank you. Very proud of our district and our community that we live in, and there's not a better example that I can think of to express that proudness as our Veterans Day ceremonies that we do here in the district, as well as our city that puts on a great ceremony also. I was at the high school ceremony, and what a great entrance. All the veterans got to walk into the auditorium to a standing ovation from all the students and staff for the entire time as they walk in. Very emotional scene. As they go through the whole thing. So it's just a fantastic event that our school takes the time, and our students really, I think, truly appreciate what they learn and see from these veterans. At the high school, there was a group of veterans that went up on stage and answered some questions from one of Mr. Temeco's class, I believe. And one of the points a couple of them brought up is they feel that every student should graduate high school and go into the military for at least a year or two. What do you guys think of that? But it was, they're very appreciative. You talk to these veterans afterwards, and they're just so appreciative of being honored, and obviously it's a big honor for us to honor them because they've obviously sacrificed a lot for what we have here today. So I just wanted to thank our veterans and thank all of our buildings, all our administration and staff that put those together, and all of our students that really show the respect to our veterans as they go through those ceremonies. At the city event on Saturday, our 6th and 7th grade choir were singing, and they did a spectacular job there, and on their last song they ended with a standing ovation from the crowd there, so they did a fantastic job there. And as you're walking through that line afterwards, shaking the hand of all those veterans and thanking them for their service, to see the tears in their eyes and just that emotion that good emotion that they see, the caring that comes back to them, that they truly deserve for everything that they've done for our country. So I just wanted to thank them and obviously everyone that was part of those ceremonies. Also, congratulations to our Students of the Month, another great group tonight that came through, and our Spotlight on Staff members. It's always great to see our staff being recognized also, that obviously make our students as good as they are too. So it's congratulations to all of them. Also was at Beauty and Beast on Friday night. Fantastic show, probably the best one I've seen. Not that any of them were bad, I didn't mean it that way, but very good show. The singing, I mean, it had to be just below professional level, just watching all the beautiful sets and how seamless it was, moving from scene to scene, and the voices from those kids were just fantastic. And I have to give hats off to Denton. I'm not sure, it's hard enough to just speak in a French dialect, but then to continue to sing without slipping up into, just back to your English, your normal language. It was fantastic, and it was just a good show. And Caroline's voice is beautiful, which must be from her mom. But you used to be an ensemble, right? Maybe we can get you two to sing together on one of our...
Years ago.
I'm sure it's still good.
That's the roadie.
Congratulations also to my fellow board members on their re-election. Good to see the band staying together. That's good. Keep working together. So congratulations to you. The Fall Sports Awards Banquet is tomorrow evening at the auditorium at 7 o'clock at the high school. Yeah, it was pretty busy here Friday night with obviously the Beauty and the Beast sold out, 6,000 people coming in for the ball game. We did have 300 students rolling back in from D.C. that evening, so kudos to Mr. Miller and crew to move that out of the middle school area where there would have been no room for parents to pick them up and moved it over to the primary. So I just wanted to thank Wendell and Mr. Musey and all the volunteers that made that as seamless as we could with that many people in the area, and I think it was just great for the community. All the businesses, I think, were very appreciative. Being around town that night, a lot of the restaurants were all jam-packed. So it was a good night for not only Green Schools, but the city also. So thank you to all those that made that successful, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Enjoy your holiday and your Thanksgiving break. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Herdlick. Not really much left on my list, other than, I will have to say there's just a couple things. The Veterans Day, all the students that do things, when you see the plays that come by, all the alum that come back, whether they were in musical theater or not, all of the, just the myriad of things that we do, the 5th grade, 6th grade students that are singing on a weekend, and, it's I don't think a weekend goes by where there's not some kind of a green event that's happening that doesn't involve the schools going through there. And I think that was on full display, like Mark said, this weekend with the play going on, with 700 people there in attendance, 6,000 people at the football game, and there was didn't seem like there was, obviously everybody made everything work, and it was just just a great thing, just a great event, I think, for the community itself. One of the things that always continues to amaze me is is just the way our community always kind of supports everything. Just a quick story there for the last night there at the play. There was 12 people that were sitting out front in the box office. They'd been waiting the whole time, and there was one lady and her 10-year-old girl that were sitting there just hoping to get a ticket to go in, and it was all sold out. We didn't have any more tickets. And as usual, there's always somebody that doesn't show up. The announcement was made that if anybody had an extra ticket or somebody didn't show up, and you were okay to give that up and let someone else sit there, people would just make those available. And it was just Chuck Lyons was there, and we were all collecting tickets, and people were just like, oh yeah, here, just give mine. And the smile on that little girl's face when we came back out and she had the ticket was just unbelievable. And it really just watching that was just a full display of what our community is all about, if you ask me. You see the little 6-year-old girls all decked out in their bell outfit, and afterwards they're up on the stage taking pictures like, oh my gosh, and it perpetuates it, and it kind of that's what keeps this. I think that's what keeps this community going in a great direction and in a great way. kind of folds right into the Thanksgiving theme of, you know, coming up, and we truly are blessed with a lot of things here, not only in our community but in our country. But you know, on a community level, there's just so many wonderful people doing things that they don't look for credit. They don't care if anybody notices them. All they want to do is to help those that are a little less fortunate and maybe have a little bit better time. You know, maybe make one day a little bit better than the other ones. And I can say personally that when you are involved in something like that, it really drives home the fact that we live in a truly a unique and a great place. So, you know, if nothing else, maybe take the opportunity to, you know, just to thank someone who has helped you, or if you see somebody that needs a little something, you know, stop and just stop and ask them something or talk to them. And if there's any way to get involved, please do. It'll be an experience that I think will be better for you than it would be for the person that you're helping. And with that, we do have...
Can I make one comment? Sure. I just want to piggyback on what Bob said, and I know a lot of you attended the musical. I don't think many people understand what goes into putting on a show like this. Literally dozens of parent volunteers volunteering, you know, evening after evening, hour after hour. Carrie Diver, you know, essentially running the show from behind the scenes, from marketing to ticket sales. I think of a guy like Bob Alderman, who no longer has children in the district, literally giving up at least 2 straight weeks of evenings, several hours a day, helping build the set, helping run the stuff backstage. It's incredible the effort that is put in to putting on such a production. You know, and of course the kids and all the hours they do, the directors, you know, Scott Banham, Julie Pickering. But to me, the thing that amazes me the most is the parents that work the ticket office from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. you know, every weekday morning or in the evenings, and they're you know, kids selling ads, parents you know, building that set. And if you got to see the set, it was a real thing to behold. You know, several stories high, something that swivels, moves up and down stage. I mean, it was phenomenal. And that didn't just magically appear. It was parents putting in the hours. And so I just want to say, as someone who's has a senior that's graduating that won't be participating in musical theater anymore, how much I would just want to thank the parents and the community, because my family is incredibly grateful, and we are so fortunate that we have such an incredible performing arts program in this district to allow the kids to put on these kinds of shows. So I want to thank the community. I also want to thank the community for returning my school board colleagues. And as Mark said, it's great that the band will be, you know, sticking together for a couple more years. And you know, I really want to thank the voters for that great decision. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. We do have need for executive session this evening. We do not anticipate any action to be taken afterwards. And do I have a motion to enter executive session for Ohio Revised Code 121.22 and G5 for legal matters and matters required to be kept confidential? Do I have a motion to enter into that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Stoyanov?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.